Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Tourism Hub podcast, a podcast devoted to you and your excellence, providing inspiration and education that will empower you to take your tourism business and career to a whole new level. This is episode 1 and I'm your host, Espina Caratius.
Relax.
And in today's episode, I'm going to share with you my big why I have decided to start a podcast, and more importantly, why I have specifically chosen a tourism-focused podcast. Now, I have listened, I've researched, I've even dreamt about and almost gave up on that dream of starting my own podcast show. And instead, I had started a private Facebook group called Your Tourism Excellence. Now, this was all done with the intention of bringing together a community of like-minded tourism professionals to share insights, ideas, wins, challenges. But the more I listen to podcasts, the more I have been pulled to start a tourism-focused show and decided to take the plunge and start my own. So here we are, my very first attempt at podcasting. So why would I do that? You know, a sleep-deprived mother of 3 running her own business decide to start something as, well, I tell you what, in the beginning it did seem very complex, and like anything, the more you kind of just get in there and give it a go, things become easy. But why would I start one? Life is busy. But I guess I wanted to share with you the reasons why in the very first episode, straight off the bat. So the reason number 1 that I decided to do this show, one is for you. I want you to feel like you're connected to a bigger purpose, and certainly connect you to the leading professionals of our industry. But more importantly, my number 1 reason is because I absolutely love podcasts myself. I'm an avid listener, learner, absorber. I'm like a sponge. And particularly when I started my training and mentoring business 2 years ago, Institute of Excellence. Now, as someone that has been working for herself for almost 2 years, I really found that podcasts fulfilled my own sense of community and belonging. Because I don't know about you, but when you're flying solo and building a business, there is no team, there's no assistant, there's no one to outsource the load. There's no water cooler conversations, and I guess having said that, listening to podcasts really has given me that sense of belonging and maybe feel part of a bigger community. Especially when you find a particular show or that particular someone that you resonate with, it gives you that sense that, oh, thank God, I'm not the only one that feels like that. You know, that feeling that you're not alone, which is really important when you're in business or building your career, especially for us, motivated go-getters that want to always be striving for excellence and doing better and growing. So I wanted to do something much of the same for the tourism industry. So we'll give it a really good red hot go and make a promise to you to deliver weekly shows that will entertain, delight and inspire your tourism excellence. Now, reason number 2 is that what I love even more with podcasts is that, like I mentioned earlier, I can invite guests onto the show and have that ability to enter the world of people that I really admire and am inspired by. And of course, people that I'd love to get your feedback, people that you really admire and are inspired by in our industry. Or sometimes they don't have to be in our industry. I'm certainly inspired and admire a lot of people from outside of our industry that I've learnt from and brought back into either businesses that I've been managing, clients that I look after, or my own training practice. So what I thought is that I see this as a really great opportunity to go into the world of leaders, out there and explore who they are, who they're inspired by, who are they learning from, what's their journey, how did they get to be doing what they're doing. What are they participating in? What are they reading at the moment? What are their morning routines? What do they do? I'm just got an insane curiosity about people that are achieving really good things out there. I thought, what a great way we can come together and explore these things. So like I said, I see it as a great opportunity to pay forward knowledge and insights that we can bring into our businesses and our personal development and, make us better human beings in the world and make this industry even better than what it is today. Now, reason number 3 is that, let me be upfront. I talk regularly to my clients and anyone that will listen about the importance of having a well-executed content marketing plan for every tourism business. Marketing world has changed. Digital world has changed. Social media world has changed. So we always want to be exploring with different mediums that we can share our story and our voice and our insights. And of course, what we do best in our businesses. So for me, being in the education space, I'm constantly creating digital marketing and social media as well as tourism-specific training programs. And podcasting is something that really resonated and made perfect sense for me to produce and include in my own marketing mix for Institute of Excellence. Mind you, it was also a bit of a reason for me to totally geek out on new equipment and technology and make it all happen. I've enjoyed this journey so much on really learning how to deliver something that, isn't done half done. That is something that I'm really executing professionally and, of course, with excellence. So, reason number 1, I love them. 2, I love that I can invite guests onto the show and have that ability to explore the worlds of leaders, entrepreneurs, and winners in our industry that we can also learn from and bring back into our own business and careers. Now, I've done many videos, I've done many live interviews and ran networking events, but I see this as a more streamlined way that we can connect together. And number 3, it's something that's resonated with me that I can bring into the content marketing mix of my own business, Institute of Excellence. Now, the final reason is of why I really, really love podcasts and why I thought it would be something great to put out there within the tourism industry is that podcasts don't require sitting in front of the screen. So we can actually take a break from the screen and still learn and absorb something new. So this is one of the greatest reasons I love listening to them and decided to join the podcasting greats to produce one of my own for tourism industry called Tourism Hub. I've dabbled and created online screening interviews as well as field interviews with special guests, but I think of how many podcast interviews I have consumed myself versus video interviews I have actually sat down in front of the computer and watched, and it doesn't even come close. It doesn't compare. I've listened to thousands upon thousands of episodes of podcasts. But in terms of how many I've actually watched, it is very, very minimal. And podcasts always win because of that reason, that I don't have to be in front of our computer. And if you've heard this before, ain't it the truth? Time is our most precious commodity. We're all so busy and we've got so much on our plate. When it gets time to work, we need to be focused and doing what we do. But with podcasts, I find I've listened to, I've learned so much over the last 2 years when I've really gotten into it. And it's driving in the car. I find I rarely listen to the radio. I rarely even watch TV these days. Even when I'm washing the dishes and the kids are doing their thing, if I found something interesting that I want to listen to, I'll pop my headphones on. In the same way, when I go to the gym, podcasts is my go-to thing. So we can exercise and we can drive safely and we can learn with podcasting. That is my 4 top reasons of why I am doing this and bringing to you Tourism Hub. Now, in case you're wondering which podcast greats I've loved and regularly listened to and have, like I said, thousands, it really has been. I've listened to a lot of them. Now I've listened to many podcasts, but if I had to choose my top 5 that I can offer you to go and check out, if you're new to the podcasting world, hopefully you'll subscribe and you'll like what you hear from my very first get-go. Give me a few chances at least. Some podcasts that I really, really love is the Tim Ferriss Show. I have always been a fan of Tim Ferriss, and he always delivers someone interesting, or even if he's not interviewing someone, I love the insights that he shares. So Tim Ferriss Show is the not number one, they're not in any order, but he's the first one that came to mind. He's smart and he's witty, and he certainly explores excellence in every human/business form possible. So that's one to look out for. Social Media Examiner with Michael Stelzner. Now, I've been listening to this podcast religiously for my entire first 12 months of starting my business. I've always had an interest in social media, and it's been a real natural progression that I've entered into this space of now really sharing everything that helped me build social media marketing into businesses that I've managed, particularly with Global Ballooning, the business I managed prior to now running Institute of Excellence. And I've embraced just being experimental with it it feels like for years. And without sounding too, let's go. I can safely say I've achieved great results doing it too. So I've very much embraced social media in a very DIY learning and implementing what I've learned, and it's worked great for the business I managed, clients that I've been working with, and certainly now in my own business. So listening to Michael Stelzner and his guests share their successes on multiple social media platforms. So listening to Michael Stelzner and all of his special guests share their successes on multiple social media platforms. This podcast even inspired me to get on a jet plane and attend my very first social media international conference when I was only 6 months into my business. Now, I couldn't afford it, but at the same time, I couldn't afford not to go. So this was in March 2015 in San Diego, and it was such an incredible experience. I met so many wonderful business and marketing minds. It was invaluable. And I guess that podcast, Social Media Examiner, is a real catalyst of the direction that I've taken with Institute of Excellence. Someone a lot closer to home, Business Addicts. Now, speaking of social media marketing world, Lauren Bartley, who runs Business Addicts, she's a Melbourne gal, and along with her co-host, Fiona Redding, I actually met Lauren. She was like my sister from another mister. I met her on our way to San Diego. We're on the same flight going over to San Diego for Social Media Marketing World. And she had just dropped her first episode literally on the plane heading over. It was so exciting to watch her launch her podcast, and she's just been doing some great interviews and sharing her own insights. So that's another one to check out. Now, a final 2 that I have is the James Altucher Show. He talks really fast, but what I love about James is, again, I must have a thing with witty guys. It's certainly something that I love about my husband, but he's just really witty, and he's got a real curious mind, and he's very honest and raw, and I love the way he can tell it like it is with humility and confidence. So he's just a funny guy that's also very inspiring. So I also love to read James Altucher. I love reading his work. So I subscribe to his blog, and he's a really cool dude that I would recommend. Last but not least is the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. Now, he is affectionately known as the podcast answer man. Now, Cliff is like a podcast total guru. He has recorded thousands, like over 3,000, maybe more now, of podcasts himself, and also launched multiple podcasts. And a lot of the podcasts that I've even mentioned, Cliff is behind them as the man that's helped them. So he has been my go-to man to really educate myself on how to get this going. And I'm very grateful and inspired by him to be doing this and to keep going. So there you have it, the first installment of my very first episode for Tourism Hub, why I'm choosing podcasting to connect and share excellence with everybody. Hopefully there's more than one listening with you all. But, there's the podcasting element, but why a tourism-focused podcast, not a business-focused one? Because, Institute of Excellence, I've certainly been going outside of tourism in some project of what I've worked with, because small business is my jam. I love helping the small business community. But tourism, I guess I'll go straight into it, that number one, there's thousands of really, really, really good business podcasts out there, above 5 top ones that I've just shared with you. Now, there are a handful of tourism-focused podcasts as well, and yet there are no podcasts that are made in Melbourne, number one, the most livable city in the world that we win year and year and year after year. We have our own groove and flavour happening down here in Melbourne, and I wanted to shout it from the rooftops that this is a Melbourne born and bred podcast. But obviously we're not going to just stick to Melbourne, but I will reach out to the Melbourne influencers as we get going and start with. But from what I know, actually, of what I know or I don't know, there hasn't been a tourism podcast out there that has been produced from Melbourne. I should mention there are 0 tourism podcasts in the entire universe that are that are not made by me, the Despina Karatia. So there's another reason. But although I find travel and tourism inspiration everywhere and go beyond my Melbourne, Victoria borders regularly, I am inspired daily by our city, by our region, and more importantly, by the people behind the tourism businesses and organisation that make this industry thrive. So this is a numero uno, why tourism in Victoria is where I'm kicking things off from. Now, speaking of passionate people, I have been working in tourism for almost 20 years now, and if you ask me what has been the greatest highlight of my career, it would have to be the passionate people I continue to meet, and many who have become very close and personal friends. It is sharing the successes and stories of these people that really it's the primary purpose behind starting this brand new tourism hub show. So this is all done with the intention to inspire you and your excellence in building your tourism business and career. It has been quite a learning curve over the last couple of years, and if anyone tells you it's easy to start a business or a podcast for that matter, they are lying to you people. I hope they'd stop lying. It's not easy. Like Cliff Ravenscraft says, I don't want easy, I just want worth it. And even just from, I'm having a ball here. Even just in recording my own show, I'm here alone. But I hope you're enjoying it just as much as I am. Like anything, it takes a lot of dedication, persistence. 2 years into it, and I don't... I was about to say I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. I don't even feel like I'm at the surface to scratch it yet. I guess maybe it's that student in me, this student for life. I'm just so immersed in constantly learning that then you don't know what you don't know, and then you've opened up another rabbit hole. But I've certainly had a ball in the people that I've met and connected with, and developing the programs that I have to date to deliver, particularly within the tourism industry. One of my favorite quotes ever is, "If it was easy, everybody will be doing it." And something I remind myself regularly, even in setting up in this podcast. It comes with a level of nerves. It comes with a level of, vulnerability, just like starting a business, just like the very first workshop ran, just like the very first thing that you did that seemed to be scary. But it's always in the back of my mind that if this was easy, then everybody would be doing podcasts. Everybody would be starting their own businesses. So I remind myself that when I'm working through the night or on the weekends away from my family, if this was easy, D-girl, everybody would be following their dreams. I say that in everybody would be following their dreams, like in inverted comments. But as you and I both know, dreams don't work unless we do. Another favorite. I know. I love my quotes. We will have them regularly. If you've been following anything that I've done, nothing will come without a quote in there. So yes, dreams don't work unless we do. Boy, ain't that the truth. So there you have it. I am a student for life, learning every day how to best navigate a well-balanced life, supporting, nurturing, and loving my family while supporting, serving, and contributing to the successful growth of the tourism business community and the industry I absolutely love. So for those of you that might be aspiring to work in the tourism industry, wanting to start a tourism business, or run a successful business, or work for one of the many wonderful leading organizations of our industry, this is a podcast created just for you. So after 2 years of running my own business, I finally have the podcast I have aspired to launch. If you're listening to this, I'm so excited. It's finally out there. So there you go. I will wrap up the very first Tourism Hub episode with me, your host, Despina Caratius. That's what I wanted to share with you. And if you liked what you heard, please hit subscribe, and I will look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, I want to encourage you to be excellent, make it happen, and take your tourism business and career to a whole new level. Big love until next time. Bye for now.
Relax.